In today's video, we bring you an inspiring story of two people from completely different walks of life: Ron, a humble mechanic, and Anna, a successful businesswoman. Despite their contrasting worlds, a single act of kindness in the midst of a snowstorm brings them together in a way either of them expected. This story is a reminder that sometimes, the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact. Join us as we explore how compassion, human connection, and the willingness to help others can change lives, and even entire worlds. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring content like this. Life often hides its most extraordinary miracles beneath layers of cold, white snow. A humble mechanic with a past marked by loss, a young yet lonely businesswoman accustomed to the cutthroat world of commerce, and a simple act of kindness amidst a blizzard set the stage for a transformative journey neither could have foreseen. Ron had always known hardship. Ron was not always the quiet, resigned man he was today. His childhood was filled with laughter, the warmth of a small family living on the outskirts of town. His parents, both hardworking and humble, built a life on simplicity. His father, a talented carpenter, often told him that life might be hard, but kindness would always be the light that guided you through the darkness. Ron believed this wholeheartedly, trusting that the value of a person was measured by the goodness in their heart. However, everything changed the moment he entered adulthood. When Ron was just 20 years old, his father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. The cruel disease not only ravaged his father's body but also drained the family's financial resources. His mother took on multiple jobs to cover the medical bills, while Ron, still young and full of dreams, was forced to forego his hopes of attending college and instead worked full-time at a local auto repair garage. Those years shaped Ron into a strong, resilient man, but they also made him cautious of life. He learned to live frugally, to appreciate the simplicity of small comforts, and to always remember that happiness came not from material wealth but from the simple act of helping others whenever possible. After 2 long years of battling the disease, Ron's father passed away, leaving a void in his heart that nothing could fill. From that point on, Ron withdrew from the world, devoting all his energy to his work and his small family. He never imagined that one day, his life would change forever due to a simple act of kindness during a fateful snowstorm. In stark contrast to Ron, Anna lived in an entirely different world. Born into wealth, she inherited a large corporation from her parents at a young age. The world of business was far from a gentle one, however. The marketplace was not a place for the weak, and from an early age, Anna had to learn how to navigate a sea of insincere smiles, calculated handshakes, and sweet-talking lies. Her world was a never-ending cycle of power struggles, money, and corporate warfare. She became adept at hiding her true emotions, donning a mask of coldness and strength to face each day's challenges. Her parents had taught her to be tough, to take what she wanted without apology, and to never show weakness. But the more she succeeded, the emptier she felt inside. Anna had won countless battles in the boardroom, yet with every victory, a gnawing emptiness settled deeper within her. Behind the glittering facade of lavish parties, high-end board meetings, and endless flattery, she was left to confront the truth: she was lonelier than ever before. In Anna's world, kindness had become a rare commodity, something almost non-existent. She lived in constant suspicion, always on guard, never allowing herself to trust anyone. Her success, once a source of pride, now felt like a cage. The money and power that had once promised her freedom had instead become her prison, trapping her in a life where every relationship seemed transactional, every interaction filled with hidden agendas. She longed for something real, something genuine, but she didn't know where to find it. The more she reached for connection, the more elusive it seemed. It was as if the walls she had built around herself, brick by brick, had become impenetrable, both keeping others out and locking her in. Anna had built a fortress, but deep down, she knew that she was imprisoned in her own creation. Despite all her wealth and success, she had never known true happiness or peace. In the world she inhabited, trust was a luxury, and vulnerability was a weakness. The people around her were constantly playing their own games, manipulating situations to their advantage. She had learned early on that in order to survive, she had to be just as ruthless as everyone else. But even with all her accomplishments, Anna could not shake the feeling that something was missing, that there had to be more to life than this endless pursuit of power and status. Then, on one fateful winter afternoon, her world would shift in a way she could never have anticipated. Ron was on his way home after a long, exhausting day at work. The snow fell heavily, blanketing everything in its cold, white embrace. The road was barely visible, covered in thick snow, and the world around him was muffled by the storm. In the faint glow of his headlights, he saw a luxury car stopped at the side of the road, its hazard lights blinking. Next to the car stood a woman, shivering, trying to pull her thin coat tighter against the biting cold. Without a second thought, Ron pulled over to the side, stepped out, snow settling on his shoulders. As he got closer, he noticed the woman was trying to make a call, but the signal was weak. Gently, he asked, "Is there a problem with your car?" Anna turned around, her eyes full of concern, her voice trembling. "I think the battery is dead." Ron nodded, quickly assessing the situation and confirming that she was right. He went back to his car, retrieved a set of jumper cables, and started working. During the process, Anna stood silently, observing the man before her. He was different from anyone she had ever met, his eyes full of sincerity. While he worked, his movements were steady and sure, yet there was no rush, no impatience. She could sense a calmness in him that was foreign to her, especially in the chaos of her own life. When everything was set, Anna reached for her wallet, intending to pay him. But Ron simply shook his head, offering her a small smile. "There's no need. Just get home safely. If you can, try to help someone else when they need it, just like today." Her heart stopped for a moment. His words were simple, yet they struck her deeply. Anna had always lived in a world where everything had a price, where every favor was exchanged for money or something of equal value. Yet this man, this stranger, didn't want anything in return. All he asked for was a promise of kindness, a simple act of compassion in a world that often seemed devoid of it. As Ron began to walk back to his car, disappearing into the swirling snow, Anna stood there, her breath catching in her chest. She didn't know why, but something about this encounter lingered in her mind. For the first time in years, she felt something stir inside her, a flicker of something genuine, something real. As the snow continued to fall, Anna realized that she had met someone extraordinary, someone who had reminded her of the kind of human connection she had long since forgotten. It wasn't about money or status, or even the things people often take for granted. It was about kindness, about looking out for each other, even in the most unexpected of circumstances. And in that quiet, snow-covered moment, Anna knew her life had changed forever. 2 days later, Ron was back at his usual job in the garage. It was a cold, ordinary morning, and he had settled into the rhythm of his day, working on the steady flow of repairs that came with running the shop. But on that day, something happened that would alter the course of his life in ways he never could have predicted. A frantic phone call from his neighbor interrupted the hum of the garage. "Ron, you need to come home right now. There's a helicopter landing right outside your house." Ron's heart skipped a beat. Confused and anxious, he quickly hopped into his truck and sped home. As he pulled up to his modest house, what he saw left him completely stunned. A sleek private helicopter was parked in his front yard, its blades slowly winding down. The snow had ceased for a moment, leaving a surreal calm in the air, but it was hard to ignore the presence of the extravagance right in front of him. As he got out of his truck, a group of sharply dressed men, all in tailored suits, approached him. They moved with purpose, and their polished shoes crunched in the snow with an air of authority. Leading the group was a man with a confident smile, extending his hand to Ron. "Mr. Ron, we come on behalf of someone you helped 2 days ago." Ron stood frozen, his mind racing. "Is this Anna?" The man nodded, a respectful gesture, and handed Ron a sealed envelope. The weight of the letter in his hands was heavier than it appeared. It wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a symbol of something that had just shifted in his life. Ron opened the letter, his eyes quickly scanning the contents. The message was simple, yet it carried a weight that settled deep in his chest. Thank you for your kindness. Please come and see me. There is something I need to tell you. Ron stood in the snow, his breath visible in the air, unsure of how to process what was unfolding. Anna, the woman he had met in the storm, who had been so guarded, so wrapped in her own world of power and wealth, was reaching out to him. Why? What could she possibly want? His mind spun with 1,000 questions, but one thing was clear: his quiet life was no longer the same. He looked at the men in suits, standing expectantly, waiting for him to make a decision. And in that moment, he knew he couldn't just go back to the routine of his old life. Something had changed, not just in Anna, but in him, too. The life he thought was simple and predictable had just been shaken by the actions of a stranger who had shown him an entirely different side of the world. Ron took a deep breath, and without a word, nodded to the men. He was ready to find out what this unexpected turn of events meant for him. Ron stood frozen, the paper in his hand trembling slightly. He had never imagined that one simple act of kindness could lead to something so profound. As he climbed into the helicopter, his mind was a whirlwind of questions. The chopper glided effortlessly over snow-covered forests, taking him to a grand estate nestled in a white valley. The warm golden light spilling from the windows of the mansion contrasted starkly with the cold, desolate world outside. The door swung open, and Anna appeared. She was the same composed, strong figure that Ron had seen 2 days ago, but today, in her eyes, he sensed something different, perhaps softness, and maybe even deep gratitude. "You've come," Anna said, her voice warm, no longer distant or cold as it had been before. Ron nodded, trying to maintain his calm. "You wanted to see me?" Anna smiled faintly, a rare gesture, and led him into the living room, where a fire burned brightly in the hearth. She poured him a cup of hot tea and slowly began to speak. "Did you know," she began, her voice quiet and contemplative, "that since I was a child, I've lived in a world where kindness is an abstract concept, something distant and foreign? Everything was always exchanged for something, always a transaction. I've grown accustomed to coldness and deceit, to the point where I almost didn't believe that there were people like you left in this world. What you did for me that day made me question everything." Ron sat still, listening intently. He couldn't have imagined that something so simple in his eyes would have such a profound impact on someone like Anna. She continued, her gaze distant as though lost in thought. "I've often wondered, is it possible to live a different kind of life? A life where I don't have to be on guard, where I don't have to fight every day. Perhaps I haven't found the answer yet. But I know one thing: you're the one who can help me see what that life could be." Ron was taken aback. He hadn't expected such a deep reflection from Anna, the powerful businesswoman who had always seemed so in control of everything around her. To hear her speak so vulnerably, so honestly, was a revelation. He had always seen Anna as someone wrapped in the armor of success, impervious to the world's harshness, but now, she seemed more human, like someone who longed for something real, something beyond the mask she had to wear every day. "Anna," Ron said, his voice soft, "I don't know if I can help you with all that, but I do know that kindness, the kind I believe in, doesn't need anything in return. It's just what you do because it's the right thing." Anna's expression softened further, a mixture of gratitude and perhaps a glimmer of hope. "That's exactly why I'm here, Ron. Because for the first time in a long time, I feel like there might be a way out of this endless cycle. A way to stop hiding behind this facade and start living as someone real. And I want to know if it's possible for someone like me." Ron didn't have all the answers. He wasn't a philosopher or a therapist, but in that moment he knew one thing for sure: they both had crossed paths for a reason. Something about that fateful meeting in the snow had opened a door that neither of them had expected. And maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of a new journey for them both, a journey toward understanding the kind of life they truly wanted to live, one that wasn't about power, wealth, or games, but about truth, trust, and kindness. He looked at Anna, her eyes no longer filled with the cold detachment he had once seen. There was something more now, a curiosity, a desire to change. He took a deep breath and smiled slightly. "Maybe we can figure that out together," he said, knowing that, for the first time, he wasn't just talking about her future. He was talking about his too. The fire crackled in the hearth as the two of them sat in silence, the weight of their shared moment hanging in the air. Outside, the storm had passed, and though the world was still blanketed in snow, it felt as though a new chapter was just beginning. Anna didn't want to thank Ron with just words. She made him an offer, a position at her company that Ron never could have imagined. But what was truly unique about it was that she wanted him to be an advisor, not on business, but on kindness. "It may sound strange, doesn't it?" She smiled lightly, a playful glint in her eyes. "But I believe this company needs people like you, people who can remind us of the real values of life." Ron was taken aback. He had never envisioned himself leaving the small garage, let alone working in a high-powered corporate environment like this. He had always felt comfortable in the simplicity of his world, where hard work and integrity were his only guides. But as he looked into Anna's eyes, he saw something different, a genuine hope, perhaps, that he could be the catalyst for change, not just in the company, but in the world she inhabited. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for such a role," he said, his voice hesitant. "I've never really been part of a world like this. I'm just a mechanic. I've always believed that doing the right thing was enough." Anna's gaze softened, her expression thoughtful. "That's exactly why I think you're perfect for this. You see the world through a different lens, one that isn't clouded by competition or profit margins. You believe in kindness, in helping others without expecting anything in return. And in a world that's so consumed with ambition and success, I think that's exactly what we need." Ron was quiet for a moment, the weight of her words sinking in. It was true, he had always believed that kindness was the most important thing in life. But to apply it in a corporate world, in a place where people were often driven by greed and power, seemed impossible. And yet, here was Anna, someone who had everything, power, wealth, success, and yet was searching for something more, something genuine. And perhaps, in that moment, she saw something in him that no one else had. He thought about his father, about the lessons he had taught him. Life had never been easy for Ron, but it had always been about doing what was right, about being there for others, even when things seemed hopeless. Could he really take that philosophy and apply it to a place like Anna's company? Could he be the one to teach these people something they had long forgotten? "I'll do it," Ron said finally, surprising even himself. "I'll be your advisor. But I need you to understand something. Kindness isn't just about being nice. It's about creating an environment where people can be their best selves, without fear of being judged or taken advantage of. It's about helping others see beyond the surface, and building trust, one person at a time." Anna nodded, a small but genuine smile spreading across her face. "I know. And that's exactly why I want you to be here." For the first time since that fateful snowstorm, Ron felt something stir within him. Hope, maybe, or the belief that he could make a difference, even in the most unlikely of places. And as Anna led him through the grand halls of her estate, discussing plans for his new role, Ron realized that he wasn't just stepping into a new job. He was stepping into a new life, one where he could make an impact, not with his hands or tools, but with his heart. And as for Anna, she knew that she had found something far more valuable than a business advisor. She had found someone who could help her rediscover the meaning of kindness, the importance of trust, and the power of human connection. In that snowy moment, their paths had crossed for a reason. Both had been lost in their own way, but together, they might just find what they had been searching for all along. The first few days at the company were a massive challenge for Ron. A simple mechanic by trade, he now found himself in a world of sharp suits, cold strategies, and skeptical glances. At times, it felt like he didn't belong there, surrounded by people who lived and breathed profits, competition, and ruthless ambition. But with each passing day, Ron managed to surprise them, not with his knowledge of business or corporate strategies, but with something far more powerful: his genuine kindness. He treated everyone with respect, listened attentively, and was always ready to lend a hand, even if it was just a small gesture. When a colleague was overwhelmed with a project, Ron would offer his assistance without hesitation, even though it wasn't his job. When a senior manager was frustrated, Ron would calmly offer a solution that put people's needs ahead of the numbers. Slowly but surely, the icy walls around the boardroom began to melt, and whispers of admiration started to spread. Anna watched all of this unfold from a distance. At first, she had been curious, then intrigued, and finally, deeply moved. Ron's approach was so different from the way she had always done things. Where others saw weaknesses in his lack of corporate knowledge, she saw strengths that no amount of education or experience could ever replace. Ron had the ability to see people, not as assets to be managed, but as human beings with dignity, with stories, with struggles, and with dreams. His humility was his superpower, and it was slowly transforming the culture around him. It wasn't just the staff who were changing. Anna herself began to transform. She noticed the shift in her decision-making, how her choices grew more compassionate, more thoughtful. No longer was she solely focused on what would benefit the bottom line. She began to consider how her actions impacted her employees and their families, their well-being, their sense of purpose. Her leadership became softer, more inclusive, and most importantly, more human. Under her guidance, and with Ron's influence, the company began to grow in a way Anna had never anticipated. Profits still climbed, but now there was a new metric of success. The company was becoming known not only for its financial achievements but for its ethical stance, its support for the community, and its commitment to treating people with respect. It became a beacon of kindness in a business world that was often driven by greed and competition. As Anna sat in her office one evening, reflecting on the journey that had brought her here, she thought back to that snowy afternoon when she had found herself stranded on the side of the road. She thought of the simple mechanic who had offered his help without expecting anything in return. Little did she know that in that moment, a new chapter of her life had begun. It wasn't just about saving her car. It was about saving herself from the emptiness she had felt for so long. And now, as she looked at the company she had built with Ron by her side, she realized that sometimes, it's the smallest acts of kindness that create the biggest ripples. From a snowstorm, a dead battery, and a mechanic with a big heart, an entire empire of goodness had begun to rise. It was proof that, even in the coldest of worlds, warmth could still exist, and sometimes it's the Ron and Anna, two individuals from completely different worlds, were now bound not just by work but by shared values. Their connection was deeper than just a professional relationship. It was a mutual exchange of life lessons. Ron taught Anna about the power of kindness, while Anna helped Ron rediscover dreams he had long buried under the weight of hardship. Through the cold, unforgiving winter days, they found warmth in each other's company. Amidst the fierce snowstorms, they found one another. And in the turmoil of life, they came to understand that sometimes, a small act of kindness is enough to change the entire course of their world. The story of Ron and Anna is a powerful reminder of the profound impact that compassion and human connection can have in a world driven by ambition and material success. It shows that no matter how different we are, the ability to offer kindness and empathy transcends all boundaries. Ron's life had been shaped by loss and sacrifice, and yet through his simple, heartfelt gesture in the snow, he taught Anna that goodness and sincerity could still be found in a world that often values profit over people. For Anna, who had spent years in the cutthroat world of business, relying on calculated moves and strategic decisions, the encounter with Ron became a turning point. His act of kindness reminded her that there was more to life than just building empires and accumulating wealth. True success, she learned, lies in the relationships we build and the positive impact we have on others. Anna helped Ron realize that it was never too late to pursue a dream, and that life could offer second chances, even in the most unexpected ways. The lesson here is clear: It's easy to get lost in the pursuit of personal gain or success, but we must not forget the importance of human connections, kindness, and empathy. These values are what truly enrich our lives and make our world a better place. Ron and Anna's story reminds us that even the smallest acts of kindness, a helping hand, a moment of understanding, or a simple gesture of goodwill, can ripple through the lives of others, creating lasting change. In a world that often feels cold and indifferent, their journey is a testament to the warmth that human connection can bring. It is proof that we don't need grand gestures to make a difference. Sometimes, a simple act of kindness is enough to light up the world. This story is a reminder that sometimes, the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact. Join us as we explore how compassion, human connection, and the willingness to help others can change lives, and even entire worlds. Thank you for supporting us. See you in the next videos, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.